Hi, welcome to this SQL tutorial video, and today we're going to look at common date functions. Those functions that actually are used with dates, and well, there's all sorts of various examples of date functions, but we're going to look at some quite common ones. So on screen I've got a select that has, from an employee table in the AdventureWorks database, it returns a person's job description, their date of birth, and when they were hired. So dates, generally dates will be in three parts. You've got a day, a month, and a year. Some dates you might have a time element to it as well, but in these two examples here we've just got the day, the month, and the year, and they're in this format here, as you can see. We've got some nice options we can choose, functions we can use to return maybe the date element, or the month element, or the year element, and they are simply called day, and then you give it the date that you want to use. If I just run that, this is returning the day element of a particular date, and it's this date. So you can see the 14 was the 14th day, the 31st day, the 11th day, and simple as well as day rather, we've got month. And it works in the same way, and yeah. So that's quite cool. You've got, this is the day, this is the month, this is the year. You might want to break that up for a particular reason, or maybe you want to say, show me everybody who was hired in 2019. So you can say where year, hire date, sorry, not 2019, 2009. So those three, nice and simple to use, and I think quite kind of easy to understand. Next we've got DATEADD. So DATEADD. What DATEADD does is it takes a particular date and it adds or removes a particular amount of elements of it. So it might be that you want to take 2 years off a particular date. It might be that you want to add eight months onto a particular date. DATEADD does that. So DATEADD, then in brackets it says, okay, what part of a date are we interested in here? Is it the day, the month, the year, the minutes, the seconds? So let's put the day, and the increment, is it plus or minus a particular amount? So let's say 10 days plus, that is, and we'll say hire date. So this will return the hire date plus 10 days. See that? 24th of January 2009, the 10th from the 31st of January 2008, so the 10th of the 2nd. You can see that it's added 10 days, and if we just change that to be a minus, it would remove 10 days. And then we've got another option here of DATEDIFF. So DATEDIFF will give the difference in years, days, months, whatever it will be, between two given dates. So DATEDIFF requires, first of all, the interval. How many are we counting, days here or months here? So let's say year. Then we can say between the birth date and the hire date. So if we run that, although it's not going to be exactly precise because of the month element, it's basically this person who's a CEO was 40 or thereabouts when they were employed. They were born then, they were hired then, 40 years, the difference. Or we could be quite extreme and say a day there, and it will return, very large numbers. The final thing that I want to show is GETDATE. And GETDATE is a function by itself. It returns the current date time. So there's GETDATE. But then what you can do is you can then use GETDATE as in the current date time here, with other functions. So maybe you want to know how long somebody's been at the workplace. So you can say DATEDIFF year from their hire date to today's date. So 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, as you can see. And actually, although I did say the last thing I wanted to show you, I'm going to actually show you one more thing. So there is a way in SQL of converting dates to a different format. So right now we've got this format of year, then month, then day separated by dashes. So if I just get rid of GETDATE and we'll just run this. Let's say I want the hire date to be in a different format for a particular reason. Maybe I'm importing this data into a system which has a very specific date format. So I do convert. Now I'm going to do char 11 because if I do, depending on the data type, if I do a date, it's going to change the date format anyway. So I need to make it a string so that it will force it to be a very particular format. If I did it as a date, then SQL will display it in its own default format. So char 11, the expression that I'm interested in is hire date. And then I've got a style, and there's lots of different styles here. If you were to Google SQL convert, you'll see all of this. But if I were to select 106, so you'll see 106 does the days, then January kind of spelt out in short form, and then the month, the year with spaces. Maybe you want to see slashes. So there's a different way of doing it. Like I said, Google SQL convert and you'll see a lot of options here. And all of the kind of different types of output that you can have. But that's the end of this video. If you've got any questions or any comments, all feedback is appreciated. Thanks very much for your time. See you next time.